Hey guys, we just got back from Bloodshot, an early screening of it. They gave us these shirts, all three of us. And that's starring Vin Diesel. It's a Sony-based film, superhero film. This one, I think the trailer kind of underwhelmed us. You know, the trailer was very average. So we just got done seeing it. The embargo has ended, and we are able to post our impressions.
Yeah.
Guys, I really, really like Vin Diesel. You know, I like him as a person. He's a gamer. He's a D&D player.
A dancer.
And I'm pretty sure I've actually played Xbox Live with him once long ago. He's one of us. Is he the best actor?
No.
In action, no. But, you know, as an action star, he's serviceable, right? But my job here on the Angry Joe Show is to come to you and give it to you straight, regardless of how much I like Vin Diesel as a person.
No bias. Got it.
No bias. This film is average at best.
You were thoroughly whelmed, right? You're not overwhelmed. You're not underwhelmed.
I was thoroughly underwhelmed, Alex, unfortunately.
Yeah, me too.
This film is average at best. This is one of those that's ruined by its trailer. Almost, the trailer tells the whole fucking story. Mm-hmm. The fact that, you know, his mind is being manipulated. And I'm watching the film play out, and I'm seeing scenes in the climax that were in the trailer, you know, the emotional climax of the film. And I'm like, I've seen this film already. I've seen it in the trailer. I've seen it in countless other stories that have already been told. And it just didn't, you know, it's exposition heavy. Yeah. It's got rather weak writing. It's too cliche ridden. I'm really laying into it. And honestly, I didn't even really like the nano effect. That's supposed to be like the coolest effect.
It barely played any.
It just doesn't look all that great, or it needed to be done even maybe in a more horrific way or in a more, you know, piecemeal way or something. I just didn't, you know, find the effect all that impressive. I felt like I had seen it all before. What did you guys think?
I'm gonna be honest. I was very disengaged with this movie.
Yeah,
I didn't care for it. This movie had no chemistry between any of the actors. Mm-hmm. It felt flat, like you said. The writing was super weak.
Yeah,
I just didn't have a good time with this.
Right. This is a product of too many superhero movies and too many cooks in the kitchen and people wanting to ride that wave.
Yeah.
And honestly, Sony, it didn't really look like they had much confidence in the film, or Columbia Pictures didn't have much confidence in the film. They put the whole film in the trailer. They didn't let that twist there at the end. The best
parts.
Sort of, the best parts are in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like that final battle with the elevator that I thought would be the final battle, and I thought it would be lame as fuck as a CGI battle.
And it looked terrible in the trailer. It looked terrible.
It looked even worse in
the
real movie because if you think maybe they're going to use a little bit of CGI, a little bit of real actors. It is like 90% Vin Diesel CGI, and it's like basically Venom's CGI climactic battle. Only with symbiotes, you can kind of forgive some of the CGI because it looks a little goopy. But when you're putting in a CGI Vin Diesel, it just doesn't look right.
Yeah, it didn't look right. I think the best way I can describe this movie is it feels clunky. There are scenes that don't fit. It doesn't flow well in story, in writing, in tone. There's a scene of exposition, horrible exposition, that doesn't fit at all.
Look up the director.
And then 3 or 4 scenes later, there is a more subtle and well-crafted scene that's exactly the same bits of exposition.
Oh, yeah. So they do the same scene multiple times.
It feels like that there was a test audience filled with goddamn morons who just are like, I don't get it. And so they had to go back and plug in scenes beforehand and go, all right, look, if your family tree doesn't branch out real far, we put this scene in for you so that you would get that they're messing with the guy's mind, because it is so ham-fisted. The bad guy, it's not a well-written bad guy. He's evil for the sake of being evil, and he's so
Exactly.
over the top and so
So
bad,
stupid.
And every time that this henchman guy is in the scene, it's just like, get out! You're the worst part of this whole movie. And
Are you talking about the henchman or the main
Yes.
villain?
well, Guy Pearce is better, right? Because he's better at acting, but there's some scenes where he's just not very good either. But the henchman, the number one
Yeah.
henchman,
Oh
is
my
the
God.
worst part of
Worst.
this whole movie.
One of the worst villains of all time.
Yeah.
This was directed by David S.F. Wilson. Never heard of him?
Oh,
Nobody has. Highest rated film, not available. Lowest rated film, not available. Birthday, not available. Birthplace, not available.
He did the visual effects for Avengers: Age of Ultron,
Oh, thank you.
Star
Bill.
Wars: The Force Unleashed 2 visual effects, and it looks like his movie. Yeah,
Yes,
Bloodshot
and what I'm trying to say is it's filmed in a very boring, static manner. There's no real impressive shots. Even his action, the way he films his action is rote. Am I using that word correctly? It's just cliched. It sort of copies other styles.
They poke fun at it too.
They do that stop, that sort of slow-mo stop and then go and then slow, like a little bit of like that 300 style, except it's not as well done.
cool.
The best action scene in here is Vin Diesel pours a bunch of flour on a highway.
he crashes a flower
and
truck.
and he steps in it a little bit and he beats people up.
Yeah, I liked that scene. There was some really good parts of that scene. Again, it's very clunky, but there's
It's not well shot.
yeah, I agree with you that it's not well shot, but like the concept of they want to show you how powerful this guy is, and so when he hits you, the flower is literally exploding off people.
Yeah.
It added some impact. So like, it's not all bad. This movie is not a good movie. I don't recommend people go out and see this movie,
but they tried.
They
There was an
definitely
effort.
tried. There was some effort there. You can
Yes.
tell that they were going for something. They just didn't have. I don't know if it was the writing or the directing or the editing
The
or
writing wasn't very good either,
all
the
of those
writing.
things together.
I think
That
it's
just
all of them.
that
All
just
of them.
like, look, I can see where you're going, and if you had gotten there, I would have appreciated what you did, but I didn't.
There are moments in the film that rises above the rest. The best parts of the film, in my opinion, are two characters, KT and Wiggins. KT is one of the super soldiers that this company who creates Bloodshot has a sort of wounded warrior program or improved warrior program, as they call
Augmented.
it. Legs guy, eyeball, camera guy, or so legs guy, camera guy, lady.
She's got lungs.
She's got a vent.
Air vent lady.
Air vent.
It opens up.
That's it. That's her power.
Yeah.
I'm serious. That's her. That's it.
Her
Oh, she
biggest-
also
wait,
does
but-
yoga in pools.
I
Yeah.
don't know what that is, but her biggest nemesis is a weighted blanket.
Yeah.
She goes to sleep with one of
Oh,
those things. Oh no, the
no.
vent won't open. She's
Joe.
dead.
A plastic bag in the
This is
wind just
terrible.
gets her,
That's
and then
it.
she just falls over. And
Right.
dies.
And robot
weird.
hand guy, Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
So basically, what we're saying is, at no point in this movie do you ever feel any tension, any
No,
trauma.
not
You
at
know
all.
that there's no fucking way that camera guy and legs guy, even when legs guy upgrades to legs and arm guy, is going to be any threat at all to Bloodshot. And so when you have no building tension, when your climactic battles are garbage, when your main villains are really, dudes with guns in the military, it's like, really, this is as creative as you can come up with the Bloodshot character. Let's talk about that too. Look, I am not well versed, okay? I don't read Valiant comics. In fact, it's almost as if Sony and Columbia Pictures is hiding the fact that it's a Valiant picture, because at the beginning, it's just like, Guy Pearce, Vin Diesel, and in the same text, Valiant, production,
Real small.
Valiant. It's like they ignore the fact, because you know how in Marvel they do, pages of the thing, and they're real. At the very last logo, I actually saw a little bit of character and personality in the Valiant logo, but that's the last thing you see, because we
You
stayed
might
till
miss
the
it
end.
if you leave.
Oh, you will miss it because there's nothing at the end, so there's no point in staying at the end. So yeah, that's the kind of it feels. If you're a fan of the character, you're probably going to be upset with the way he's handled here. He's not white-skinned. He's not red-eyed. At one point, this does happen,
Like
but it's
2
more of like
seconds.
a
He's dusty.
happenstance.
He's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just like he gets real dusty and his eyes go red. And it's like we did it. See.
So
got
it
something in my
doesn't.
eye.
So it doesn't feel like Bloodshot, and I don't know if Bloodshot uses swords, but he barely uses. He
doesn't even use his guns.
Yeah,
He
he does use his gun.
He stabbed people
He
with
hits
guns.
people. It's like, no,
He-
you're
he-
using it wrong, Vin
He
Diesel.
hits people and runs into them with his shoulder. He actually acts more like RoboCop. You know what's so funny to me is as he's a military operative on his own in the beginning of the film, he does a house clearing, right? Real tactical. He must have gone through real training, and I actually felt like he was a better fighter there than when
Yes.
he turned
I
into
was like, what the fuck?
Bloodshot.
Did that just
He's-
get erased?
He's avoiding gunshots, but then when he becomes Bloodshot, he acts like he's motherfucking RoboCop. He just sits there.
Yeah.
When he could just do some of the things. It's not, you didn't lose agility or speed or anything, but yet he just constantly allows himself to get shot. It doesn't make any sense.
He
It's
makes
for
terrible
the,
decisions.
It's for the effect. You
Yeah.
know?
It's like
Could've
we
been
need
done
to show
better.
more nanites, so you need to get shot. It's like, but you
could've
can walk
done
out
it
of the
better.
way.
Yeah.
So they give us all these shirts and let us see the early screening. We ain't never going to know more early screenings, right? They ain't never
We'll
let us
make it
back. But
happen.
hey, that's what
We'll
you
shoot
get here
you
on the
straight.
AngryJoe. We shoot it straight. Brutal, honest opinion. Unfortunately, even though I like Vin Diesel, this one was just not very good. These are one of those where it's like before Sony worked with, Marvel, the way they were handling some characters, sometimes good, sometimes really bad, right? And this is one of those that it's not offensively bad.
No, not at all.
It's not even.
I've seen worse.
The more you think about it, it does sort of approach bad territory, but it is just underwhelming, average at best. So we've railed on it. Let me quickly talk about some of the good parts. Anybody want to try to jump on that?
Winston. He was
Wiggins.
yes.
Wiggins.
I call him Winston because he's from New Girl. If anybody watches that, it's amazing.
No,
He's
I
an
haven't
amazing
seen
character.
New Girl, and I still liked him, and I thought
He's
he
a
was
great
funny.
character. He's super funny in New Girl, and he's super funny in this. So
I
he
don't know
was
if he's
the com-
super. No, actually, you're right.
He's the funniest part of
He's
this
the
movie.
funniest part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He even makes a Coming to America joke. I
Yes.
fucking love him immediately.
Yeah.
Anytime you make, I love that film so much. So his comedy. By the way, this film tries comedy all throughout it, and none of it works except for Wiggins. Wiggins' lines, he'll make you chuckle.
Yeah.
And then the other character, honestly, I enjoyed KT's character way more than the actual Bloodshot character. And she actually has one really well shot moment in the film. It might have just been the lighting and the director actually getting lucky on the way the shot was composed from his cinematographer. But at one point she destroys a server room. That's not a spoiler. She destroys the server room, and it looked really cool. She's bathed in red light with blue light, and she looks great. And I was like, man, I kind of want to see a film of her, not Bloodshot. She was the most fascinating thing to me. Felt a little bit more real. Bloodshot's motivation is essentially
You use me.
revenge.
My family.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wrong movie.
Yeah.
We're family.
Revenge. Well, it kind of is. Anyways,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's just go to final verdicts.
Let's do it.
We pretty much covered it. We're getting better and more concise with our reviews here. We got the new timer here, which helps out.
It
So,
does.
unless any of you have anything you want to say, Joe, go first.
No, I'm gonna give this a 4. It was a below average film for me. The climax was
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Why
Why was it terrible, Joe?
The CGI was so bad. Oh, well, one of the best parts was actually when KT was fighting. Her choreography.
She-
They should have done more
yeah,
of that stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
Be more practical instead of this mess that we got. And KT, Wiggins were the best part. They needed to ramp up the threat level because those two guys were a joke.
Zero threat level.
It was a joke. So I was just not having it the entire time. 4 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also going to give...
Below average, Joe.
Yeah, below average.
Yeah, I was struggling between a 4 or 5, and then the more we talk about it, the more we think about it, it goes into 4 territory. It's a 4 for me. It's not terrible. There's just so many things that don't make sense. There were so many things that
How
just
dare
didn't.
you? I'm taking your shirt away from you.
Oh, yeah, it's right there. You can have it. Yeah. The writing just wasn't very strong. The movie didn't flow, and the climaxes for me was even worse than the way that OJ described it, because there's a middle scene where the two henchmen have specific anti-Bloodshot weapons that are really effective. You show that immediately take this dude out, and then for the big fight, we're going to use some knives. The camera guy pulls out 2 knives, and then the guy with legs in the trailer, he has the 2 little robo arms. They can punch, but they also have knives. Not the cool knives
that shut him down.
They immediately disable him in 3, 2, 1.
He's got stretched the walls.
It's like they're like, no,
evil.
Kill him. It's like, well, you have the good weapons. Why don't you have the good weapons? So
I can give you a reason for that, because by then the knives were useless because of the computer guy Wiggins. That's why. But I understand what you're saying.
No, the one when he inhibits him, he stabs him, and it turns off all the nanites in him.
No, the reason why it turns off the nanites is because the RIS Industries controls that shit. But by then, Wiggins is, counteracting that, and that's why they can't just give control back immediately to this. Let's talk about that in spoilers.
They don't control him either time. That's why they have to bring him in.
Yes, they do control him. They shut him down. You just said that he shuts down.
Not the one in the spine. They shoot him with blue things that active like a local EMP, and his arm stops working.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
And so they just stop using that gun.
Oh, that's the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
'cause that's different from the knife one. The knife one shuts him down immediately with the 3 pips.
Yeah.
That's the one I thought.
They have a full gun where they shoot him, and he's just like his whole section stops
Yeah, you
working.
can have 5 of those guns.
You don't even need the superheroes. You just have 10 dudes. The guy doesn't run away from bullets. He just stands there and gets shot. And he's just like, well, I'm going to get shot.
Yeah.
Boom. Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's right.
Tactics
4.
go out the window.
4 out of 10. I'm with these guys. I could see there are moments in the third act where some of the charm of the film that tries to stay very blue-hued and very military and very sci-fi, but you realize, this is actually doing a disservice to the license, the comic. This doesn't feel unique. Bloodshot is supposed to be unique. He's supposed to look different. He's supposed to be... Valiant Comics are trying to make interesting characters stand out, and this character is the antithesis of that. It is the opposite. It doesn't stand out. It's the most generic kind of, it just sucks because I really like Vin Diesel, and he does try to make Bloodshot cool, but it's just not relatable, and he's just not all that likable as the character, in my opinion. And we don't get any of the really great climactic battles or the tension or the stakes or really anything. And it just plays on autopilot the whole time is the best description I can give for it. So 4 out of 10 for me as well. 4 out of 10 all across
all around,
the board.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry. We're always going to give it to you here straight. So you could definitely skip this one unless you're a big fan of Vin Diesel like I am. If I didn't get the early viewing one day early, I probably would have paid for it anyway because I do like Vin Diesel as a person. But I just know that it's not a very good film. Doesn't rise above. So if you want to skip it, you totally can. Join us in the spoiler section where we pick apart the movie and do our nitpicks and all the good stuff.
We've spoiled a lot already, but join us anyway.
Yeah, well, whenever a film drops kind of below 5, you better expect us to kind of give you reasons why you might
trailer.
not want
Also, there's no major spoilers. Everything is spoiled in the trailer anyway.
That is the worst part. I mean, they really ruined the trailer on that. It feels like, they kind of blew their load early because they didn't have much confidence in the film. It might have been more effective if I walked in knowing nothing about Bloodshot, knowing nothing about the trailer. You might be able to give it another point. Maybe.
5?
But it's still...
Could go to a 6, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I don't think so. That's
that.
pushing it, Alex.
All right,
That's
all right.
So we'll see you in the spoiler section. Hey guys, welcome to the spoiler section. If you don't want to bother wasting your money on Bloodshot, or you just want to kind of, see what kind of stupid things are in the film, or nitpicks, as we always do here, as many people say. It's like, that's the point of this section. It's the spoiler section. So, basically, the trailer is the film where he's a soldier. At some point, he gets captured, or he gets taken out. and his body donated to a private company from the military, and they upgrade him with nanite technology. And so he's got millions of tiny little robots that apparently store flesh inside of their little bodies and are all supercomputers.
Magic. They fix you through magic. Let's not worry about any of that.
And they can access the neural network and all this other stuff in the internet.
They know everything.
And they know, and they can do anything. So they don't ever get damaged for some reason, but okay, whatever. So he's the super soldier, but they play with his mind since he's essentially programmable, as they say in the film. And they make him believe that his wife was killed.
Yes.
Instead of reality, because later in the film he does visit his wife, and he's like, I'm home. And she's like, what are you talking about? I got a family. We ended things. He's like, oh. But they make him...
in the background, loser.
That is about as impactful as the scene was in the movie. Like, you're expecting some big reveal, and you're just like...
He's like, oh,
that makes sense.
And then he leaves. He doesn't cry about it. Vin Diesel cannot cry. He doesn't show all that much more emotion because he's a man. But no, they kill his wife, and they have they do a Talking Head song, I think.
Yeah, Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah. What?
Well, that weird dance thing where he's dancing towards them.
And so then they kill his wife. And so the person that kills his wife is basically every single person that they send him out on a mission to go and assassinate. And it's not assassinations for, like, the military killing bad guys. It's literally just assassinations having to do with this company losing employees because they want to control the thing, and they kill all the scientists that created the program. So even then, it's kind of stupid. It's like, what the fuck is the purpose of this company if he's not really using it? But they drop a tiny hint that he's the first of many, and if he works, then they're going to make a bunch of these types of soldiers. Even though then warfare would easily just change to EMP weapon charges.
Or the blue things.
Right. They're, I guess, what I would say mini EMPs, because they changed the nanites from red to blue a little bit.
And his arm literally like withers away and then comes back when the thing wears off.
Yeah. So they send him on these missions over and over, and for no fucking reason at all, he wakes up, he meets his teammate, and you think, oh, these are endearing characters. They're all, damaged and veterans, and they're cool people. But they're not. They're all fucking assholes, except for KT, right? So he goes on these missions over and over, and for no fucking reason at all, Legs Guy just hates Vin Diesel. I fucking hate you. This is my
jealousy. That's why.
My favorite part. You on this table here, and I'm gonna tell you about Gina's still alive, and you're a piece of shit.
It's this awful exposition
hit this
scene.
Reset button. Right. He basically tells them the whole story, and then he hits the reset button. They do it all over again, and he's like, oh my god, do we have to go through this fucking song and dance over again? It's like, you're not a part of it. Just fucking leave the room.
Yeah, and like KT just has like a change of heart. But there was no build-up to that for anything. She's like,
I'm done.
Yeah. So you're telling me she was murdering people for 5 years.
5 years.
And
now
then suddenly she's like, oh, Vin Diesel's cute. I don't want him to murder people.
I'm really glad that they didn't do the, like a tension between the two of them. Like, they don't end up together. Because, kind of, but they don't.
Like, oh, come on.
But they don't push it.
But that guy's 50, and she's like 20-something. It's like, this is weird. Please no. I don't.
Style.
I know, but no, I don't want to.
Yeah, like I said, there was no chemistry between anyone.
Yeah. The chemistry comes just from likable characters, which there's only two. There's KT and there's Wiggins. So essentially, they send him out after the last guy that defects from the company, but he has a super smart tech guy, because obviously the villain has his tech guy, this Indian guy that he's always like, hey, you fucking suck. He treats him like shit, even though he's the one that probably knows everything, so it's like doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, this guy would be like, no.
I am this program. Shut up.
But apparently he created the program using some of the code from this other guy, Wiggins, who is under the employment. No, actually captured.
He's captured by the other one.
This jerk guy who broke off from the company. So when they send Bloodshot over there to kill him, this other tech guy, Wiggins, has a plan. Lets him basically kill everybody in the place, then hits the EMP himself, takes him in his underground lair, and even though they know exactly where they are, they could have sent more SWAT team and anybody while they're in the down state. But it's not like it's a bat cave somewhere where like, wow, we don't know where he's at. And
Send the legs and
he's
the eyes.
reprogramming Bloodshot. We got to get him. No, they know exactly where they just let him do it. So he reprograms Bloodshot, basically tells him more exposition dump that here, now you're free. I am free. and they're gonna regret it. It's so trophy. It's just they explain everything they're about to do. Now I'm gonna go kill the bad
I wanted
guy.
like a Rocky montage scene where he's like trying to get better, and so he becomes a better Bloodshot. But no, he's just gonna also not dodge and get hit in the chest over and over with. It's just
That's
come
Rocky.
on.
That would have been so cool if he used a little bit more agility type
Elusive.
moves and shit. But
Yeah.
no, he just stands there like RoboCop.
And you see we have a health meter that's on the screen at all times, and he gets down to like 2%. It's
on
like
the screen at all times.
well, like the big important scenes where he gets shot in the chest with an RPG.
"Ooh."
It's
you're
like
right,
you're down
you're
to
right.
13%, and then the bad guy even has it on his wrist. So you at all times during the final scene, you can see that he's at 2%
His
health.
heart and his nervous system, and
And
then
so there's like, oh, who cares? If
Yeah.
you can't die, you can't die. Then it doesn't matter. And if you're not going to block, I don't care either.
yeah. So here's how the obviously they can control him. They can shut him down whenever they fucking want. So none of this should have happened. But what actually happens is KT has a change of heart. The final push of her change of heart was the guy, the robot hand guy, turns her off, turns her breathing off because she's giving him lip.
You close the
And he's
valve.
like, I need respect. You know, it's like
He
you
should
need
have done it with like a piece of printer paper, though. It's just like, ha
Flex tape.
yeah.
Oh no!
Oh no, shit, you can't.
Flex tape. She's never coming off.
Anyway, so she gets pissed off at him for doing that shit. And then remember, she's almost like an actress. She's got to play the role every fucking time, doing the same thing over again to trigger him. And so she has enough of this stuff. When he assigns KT, and they have conflict. Her and the main villain are like, you better do this. She's like, I don't like this. And
He's like, I'll turn your lungs off.
He's like, he's like, all right, then go do it. And never questions her again. And so when the most important guy who is able to shut down Bloodshot, fucking reprograms him, and he's like, go after that guy. We need him, and then he sends her after them. He doesn't even monitor her and make sure she's doing her job. We get one scene of her beating up all of Higgins' guards.
Pretty cool.
It was a good
And,
scene.
yeah, it was a
That
good
was about
scene,
it.
right? But the bad guy's not looking in, so apparently she didn't take him back to the headquarters. She put him inside a little van
Yeah.
and then drove the van under the corporation and then hatched a plan where she would go into the simulation as they're reprogramming him because she's like, I fucked up. And he's like, you fucked up? And she's like, I fucked up. I'm getting Higgins. And he's like, okay, I'm going to send Bloodshot after him. Doesn't even check or do anything.
Here's
So
one of
then
my-
they reprogram him, and then she ends up in the simulation because she goes into a room.
Here's my nitpick with that. She locks the door. Is like, hey, get out of there. Fucking turn it off.
Turn it-
Well, the whole time he could have just turned her
Exactly.
off.
He's like,
Went
turn it off.
immediately. But yet he's running. He's doing
He's
other
like, hey,
stuff. He's
open
getting
the
a gun. Oh, you
door.
better open the door right now. Just turn
Fuck
her
you.
the fuck
But
off. But apparently it has a 2-inch meter Wi-Fi range.
Well, no, they didn't want to spoil that she had new lungs that Wiggins gave her that can't be turned
the
off.
Wiggins excuse, which I used on you. And let's talk about, when Alex was saying, well, they've got technology that turns them off immediately. They've got a knife, and this knife has 3 LEDs. You hit them, 1, 2, 3. The
Shut
network
down.
reboots, and he goes by default to the corporation's network. In this case, they couldn't use those knives because Wiggins had already detached him from the network somehow.
Yeah.
Well, it's his original code.
Yeah.
So that's why knives won't work, and that's what I thought Alex was saying. But Alex had said not only the knives, but also these super effective guns, which they only have like one of.
But they have lots of rounds. We see them. The one on the back of that truck is filled
Yeah,
with
it's
the
like,
guns.
we can finally use
We could
these
use all of this
toys.
shit.
And they don't use all.
And they
the
don't use
shit.
any of that shit.
At the end of the film, they switch from the guns to grenade launchers, which does. No, it's not even nanite destroying grenade launchers or
just a
nanite EMPs. It's just a fucking grenade launcher.
Yeah.
What the fuck? The main villain at the end, when Bloodshot is on the loose, doesn't use the most effective weapon on him.
Nope.
I'm sorry, I skipped the whole climactic battle scene.
You did them a service.
Where I did do you a service, where they realize that Bloodshot has been reprogrammed, even though they're trying to program him on the bed, and the tech guy looks at him and he's like, "Oh, I'm glad I fixed everything." And then he looks at him again, and Vin Diesel's looking up at him. That was like the only cool thing, Vin Diesel stare. And he's like, "Oh shit!" And then he goes on a rampage. So then he's like, "Call the team." Fuck the team, man.
No team.
Camera guy and legs dude.
How come camera guy only gets two? He gets literally it's two X-Acto knives. He pulls up these little and he pulls the blades out and goes, yeah, and he puts them back. And the other guy, and then the other guy gets the full arm exoskeleton suit. It's like, where's that guy's exoskeleton suit? Like, doesn't he get anything cool?
No.
You gave him two little tiny
and
craft knives.
He's just human strong. He's just got cameras everywhere because his
He
sight
can see
left.
now,
But
he can see like lower.
A little lower, right? That's his eyes. His
eyes are in his chest.
Well, his eyes,
his eyes are in his nipples.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So they fight. Nipple camera guy fights Bloodshot. Guess what? Gets his ass kicked. Though he does a little bit of karate, and so I guess that.
Yeah, it makes no sense that this guy who can punch through walls and he can throw things through cars can't just grab some guy, go, arms broken,
you're dead.
And then.
I can buy the stupid mech machine, which reminded me of the Surge video game and the Surge 2, only way stupider. And so they fight in this massive CGI battle on an elevator, and it just looks awful. And it's just awful.
Especially when his face is pressed up against a glass, and it's like the rails are just hitting him.
And it's like, man, we saw an elevator fight scene that was badass in Civil War, Captain America, And so when you see another elevator fight scene just in pure CGI with just two,
but shaky at the same time too.
Yeah,
it was blurry and shaky and not very good.
So anyway, the legs dude is such an asshole that he lets camera guy die because camera guy, the elevator is knocked loose. Camera guy's holding on for his life. He's like, help me. And the guy's like, I told you to hang on. And then he fucking rocks it some more, breaks a cable. So then that guy falls. And then Vin Diesel falls. But right before Vin Diesel falls, they do the slow-mo where he's walking with his foot up the falling elevator and grabs onto the armor suit from the other guy and drags him down. And then they fall. And then he throws him right before he falls. He falls. The other guy falls. So you're telling me the whole time. So Vin Diesel does fall.
Yes.
At the end.
Yes.
And what their whole goal was to make him fall.
Yes.
And so he falls at the end. So they win, right? No. He was never going to be killed by the fall.
Well, he was
going to
be at 13% once he hit.
Fine.
Yeah.
So he's at 13%, Joe, and then he's like, "Well, I've got unfinished business." And then Guy Pearce runs off, and he's like, gets in, a truck, and he's leaving, but no, Vin Diesel is like, no.
He threw an arm.
He threw the guy's arm through the car, so it can't start anymore.
Correct.
But it hit the back, not the engine.
Yeah, but he throws it so hard that.
Then the guy whips out a grenade launcher, fires it. And stupidly, just like Bloodshot does all the time in this fucking film, just stands there and takes it. He's at 13%, and now he's at 2%. He's at motherfucking 2 because he just let that happen. Yeah. So he's like ruining his own chance to get revenge. And finally, the guy just reloads another grenade, and he fires it, and you're like, Vin Diesel's dead. But no, the nanites lightly rub the grenade, which he could have done in the first place, but he doesn't for some reason because he wanted to go down to 2. And then he sucks in the grenade, and then once he walks up to the guy, and then he's like, "Ha! Your nanites are at 0%. You're weak, and now I'm going to use my shitty metal arm to choke you." And he's like, "No, I got the grenade still," and drops it, and they both blow up.
He's like, no, for like 2 minutes.
Oh, I forgot to mention that he powers up with red eyes, which made no fucking sense.
He gets dusty, so his flesh goes white, and then
2 seconds.
And then he gets red eyes.
This is not the comic. This is not the. I wonder what Valiant really thinks, or the original creator, or any of that, because this just doesn't seem like a really good adaptation of the source material. Yeah, cool. That's it.
But so the grenade blows him up, but he lives, even though he was at 0%. Right. They can bring him back
somehow and then Wiggins reprograms him some more, or upgrades him some more.
Now he's free.
And he's like, "No, you didn't. You had help this time." And we're like, "Who do you have help by?" I thought it was gonna be like the other Indian tech dude that worked for the other bad guy. Now he's on the good guy side, but no, it's
of course
KT.
It's gotta be KT.
Oh, and he called her with a walkie-talkie. She's like 5 feet outside of this little truck. He's like, he's awake.
Not classy because he's gonna open the trailer. Hey, KT, he's awake. No, he's like, hey,
so he
he's
goes
awake.
over. He sits next to KT, and they look at the sunset, and they say, "Well, where do you want to go now?" And he says, "I don't know." And he's like, "Perfect." Okay, that's it, guys. And I don't want to spend any more time on this. I do
No.
want to say, what is his most famous line that he says right before, his coolest line? Does anybody remember? Exactly.
Does he have a cool line?
Yes.
I don't
remember
dodge.
what the villain says to him as he shoots him in the head, and then what he says to the villains as his target says he shoots them in the
That's
head?
not his line. It was
What's
written
his
for
line?
But his line was written for him by the Indian guy. So it's the Indian
I
guy's
know,
line.
but I'm just telling you, what is the line?
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It's not his
Nobody
line.
remembers his fucking line, but he says it so much in the film that it's his line. He says, "Thanks for the advice" or something. I forget what it is. You remember what it is?
Something
Wow.
like
That's
that.
the bad guy says that.
Yes, I
Yeah.
know, and he says it back to the bad guy, and he says it over and over throughout the film. Is the point that I'm making?
Time.
Time, all right, and that's a perfect way to end because we can't even remember
No.
his cool line.
It's not
that he says
cool.
over and over. Exactly, it's forgettable.
Yeah.
And that's the point I'm making, Alex. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you on the next Angry Joe show. Put the line down below if you manage to remember it, because we don't. Bye, guys.